Alright, let's talk labels. A good framework for every task is who, what, when, where, why. I use labels to describe the when and the how. I'm going to show you the basic structure for the Git organized labels and how you can adapt them to fit the needs of your team or project. I got the inspiration for the labels from one of my favorite programs called Things for the Mac. It's based off of a very popular system called Getting Things Done, which has been around for a long time. The Getting Things Done method bases their tasks off of context of time and priority. Here are the labels that we took from Things. The ones on the left are kind of active, higher priority, and then the ones on the right are for the lower priority buckets. The first thing that I'll do is add the Dewey Decimal System so that way we can add specificity between each label. I'll add some colors and we can walk through what each label means. Inbox are for tasks that haven't been prioritized, that need to be done, but can be done in any particular order based off the decision-making process of whoever the task is assigned to. Today, obviously, means needs to be done today. Next means next, pretty obvious. Anytime, same thing, anytime, and then someday, one day. As the buckets go further, the buckets get larger in terms of amount of tasks you'll have inside. Logbook is for tasks that are complete, or maybe the task has been decided it's not going to be needed after all, or don't fix. Now, every single conversation I have, I try to put into a ticket. If I do need to know something immediately, I'll use Slack. However, I'll put that conversation back into a ticket. That way the context is always there. This results in all internal communication being documented into the database of the tickets. Now, why do I do this? Number one, searchability. Number two, the context is always there rather than mixed in with other messages and other subjects. Number three, a team member can see the priority of all incoming communications, and then they can decide their actions based off that priority. Right now, emails, lots of Slack messages, and other types of updates all have the same priority, and it's up to the team member to read through all of it and then decide the priority. This is overwhelming. That's why I like to use these labels to help show the priority. Let's go ahead and explore this. I'll be adding some labels between 0 and 1 that will start to illustrate the different types of communication. And these labels will allow the employee to easily know the priority of incoming communications and to be able to continue to do their work and keep a handle on everything that's incoming. Let's start with the divisions for 0, inbox. FYI means just, hey, I'd like you to check this out. Whenever I assign the FYI label, I know that the person who is assigned will read it and then close the ticket. The news label is kind of the same thing, but just another adjective, like, hey, this just in. I'll go ahead and assign a ticket, the FYI label, and you can see in the dashboard, it has a lower opacity to create a visual hierarchy that this isn't as important as the other items that are on your dashboard. Let's go ahead and talk about the subdivisions of the today label. We'll start off with the in progress label. As you can see here on my dashboard, I have one ticket marked as in progress. And then on the second part of my dashboard, there is a project view where you can see every in progress task by all team members. This is pretty cool because it can give a manager or team lead direct knowledge of everything that is happening at that moment by every team member. And the general rule is each team member can only have one ticket marked as in progress. I went ahead and built in some notifications in the dashboard just in case a team member forgets to assign the label or they assign two. So if I go ahead and remove this, you can see the dashboard update reminding the team member to mark what they're working on as in progress. I'll go ahead and put the in progress label back and I'll add another in progress label. And then there's a notification that, hey, it seems like you have 2 or more labeled as in progress. This is pretty cool. There are some more shortcuts and refinements that I'd like to add to the dashboard, but works pretty well now. Another cool thing is that you could put this type of feed on your phone. So that way, if there are details that have been left out or you forgot last minute and you notice that one of your team members is working on that task, you can jump in and say, hey, I forgot this, etc. Another item that I'll have more detail in a separate video later is the naming convention. If there is a particular order to a large group of issues that all have the same label, I use a naming prefix to communicate the order that they need to be done. I'll put the initials of the person who is doing the task and then the number. I'll go ahead and do this for all of them, and then I can sort by title, and then they will appear in order. So if we check out our dashboard, you can see that I have a bunch of tasks for today. And if I wanted my team member to start with one of them first, I'll apply the first label. This essentially just means start with this one, but no sense of urgency. If there is a sense of urgency, I'll put the top priority label. If you notice that the first and top priority labels have the same number because both can't exist at the same time. It's either first or top priority, and there can only be one of those in the git organized labeling system. The next label is whenever, which means today, possibly tomorrow. This isn't necessarily next. It still needs to be done today, but basically it's for when I have my assistant pick up packages so they can decide whether to get it in the morning or the evening. It's up to them. This kind of has the same weight as inbox, but it's just more of a you decide type of label. The next label is time sensitive. Usually whenever I assign tasks, it means to do it calmly. So if we need to reach out to someone, an email is fine and waiting on the response is a fine workflow. If it is time sensitive, then I need the team member to go ahead and reach out and call and basically be a bugaboo because it is a time sensitive matter, just to properly communicate the velocity needed for a particular task. The next label, clarification needed, is whenever a task is essentially a blocker. So as a team member, I got assigned a task. However, I can't complete it or I'm blocked, so I'll put clarification needed and assign it back to the person who I need clarification from. And this way, as a manager or a team lead, I can see if someone is waiting on something from me and then choose to respond immediately. The next label is step by step. Sometimes as a manager, I don't have time to explain exactly why I need something done in a particular way, but it needs to be done in a particular way. So for example, let's say someone hates telephone calls and I say text this person versus reach out. I want to make sure that my team member text the person in order to not aggravate the person. Random example, but you get the point. And then context can be provided later or follow up in the ticket as to why I made this particular issue step by step. So that way in the future, the team member can learn all of the ins and outs of each particular thing. But this is just kind of like a, hey, I need this done in this particular way. I can explain later, but don't have time. Let's head over to the next labels. Next means next, obviously. The first subdivision of the next label is pending. This means we are waiting for an external party to hear back. So if we reach out to a vendor via email, what I'll do is have my team report reached out over email, assign the pending label, and then go ahead and remove any assignees. And in this example, we do hear back. I can go to my menu bar application and then go to the pending area, and then I can grab the ticket, update the ticket, and then put it into the workflow for today or inbox or whatever might be the case in that particular situation. This keeps the list of issues or tasks down to a minimum to help with overwhelm during the day. The next tag is on hold. This means that the task has been started, but internally we're going to decide to stop. So pending is external waiting, on hold is internal waiting. Upcoming means that the task has a particular date assigned to it. You saw this task previously in the things list. So I'll go ahead and assign a date, and then I'll remove the assignee. Now, how does this show up in the workflow? Inside of the issue list, you can subscribe to an RSS calendar feed, and all of the items with the due date appear on your calendar, which is amazing. And then if I look at the due date that I assigned, it's going to be at the top of my calendar as an all-day event. So when I see this, I'll go ahead and open it up. And if it does need to be done today, I'll apply a label as needed. I'll apply an assignee as needed. And then another thing that I won't get into much, you can actually copy this to your calendar or your assistant's calendar and schedule the task of when this should be completed based off of your or your team member's availability. That's super cool. More on that topic in another video. So later is a tag that is kind of like, it's the last part of next, kind of a subdivision between next and anytime. And again, just to reinforce, these are the ones that I use for my particular situation. The main takeaway that I'd like you to leave with is to use the 5 main subdivisions, and then you can insert what works best for you in the middle of each. That's basically it for anytime and someday. There are no subdivisions. For logbook, I do have one subdivision called backburner, which means that this task likely might come back. So if I do want to find a don't fix task or something that I canceled, but I thought that it would come back, this is just a small subdivision inside of that, so it'll be easier to find. Maybe another cool name might be Phoenix, Also, I like to keep the system fun. One of our tasks that I haven't put in here is later is fine. Also confused or too short. Sometimes I type descriptions that are too short, so you can make the divisions fun. I do think I'm kind of redesigning the priority section of a GitLab issue and not necessarily the labels. However, use the labels however you need, but I think this structure helps communicate priority very well. Thank you so much for watching, and in the next video, I'll have ChatGPT read through all of the official labels if you want, or provide the spreadsheet so you can read through yourself. I hate reading text to someone whenever they can read it at a faster pace, or if you want to just listen to it on your YouTube video, good for that. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.